What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Real Talks with Jakub, where I interview doers, achievers, and go-getters and how they created their own luck and became successful. And today we are here with Jordan Gross from New York. So Jordan is a coach who helps people to truly fulfill their potential. With his 9-step coaching process, he can help you to answer the question you might be asking yourself. What do I need to be doing to truly live a fulfilling and meaningful life? He's also a best-selling author of a book called Getting Comfy, Your Morning Guide to Daily Happiness, a TEDx speaker and founder of multiple companies and organizations. With his new book, Journey to Cloud 9, Jordan helps people to confront the past and redefine the future. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about today. So welcome to the show, Jordan.
Hey, what's up, Jacob? Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I'm just so appreciative to be chatting with you. You're in a very special place to my heart right now in the Czech Republic. I spent 4 months in Prague when I was in college, so it's good to be associated with Prague again in some way. I know you're not there, but I'm just excited to be chatting, man, and looking forward to sharing some insights and adding some value to you and the listeners.
Absolutely. Same here, Jordan. Like, I've been following you for quite some time on LinkedIn, and you're sharing incredible value. You're really genuine. Like in your comments, you're really interactive with all people who are commenting there.
Thank you.
So that's why I actually decided to reach out.
Yeah, that's the most, and thank you so much for noticing that, because that's really important to me and that's really intentional, right? I want to make my presence as human as possible, right? So that's me. Every single comment you see, post you see, it's not a team, it's not automated, it's me. And I think I do spend a lot of time on there because I think that's my greatest asset and my greatest strength is my communication and ability to reach people. And I think people are our greatest assets, right? So that's why I want to create and build these relationships, whether it be on posts, in personal messages, in the books that I write. I just want to be available to people who want to talk, because it's so often overlooked, just the power of human connection, right? And that's why I spend so much time and put the emphasis on it that I do.
I have so many questions about what you just said. But there's a part from your book I really want to point out. So in this book, The Journey to Cloud 9, you start with an amazing quote by Ed Miley, one of the entrepreneurs I follow, and he's amazing. So let me read it to people who are listening or watching on YouTube. So the quote goes like this. Somebody once told me the definition of hell. On my last day on this earth, the person who I became will meet the person I could have become. And these two people are total strangers. But somebody also once told me the definition of heaven. On my last day on this earth, the person who I became will meet the person I could have become. And those two people are identical twins. At Miley. So, Jordan, tell me, why did you choose this quote to start your new book with?
Yeah, so that quote hits me every single time. And every time I hear it, I'm reminded of how I want to live my life. I want to live my life according to this definition of heaven and becoming the person who I know I'm supposed to be. So that's literally in every single decision that I make, I am choosing based off of the route that I know I should be taking in my life, right? I'm not looking back with regret. I am not looking at situations and saying, oh, I'll wait and maybe things will be the right time for this and that. No, I'm doing everything in the moment, focusing on the actual journey as opposed to the end destination, right? That's what the journey to Cloud 9 is all about. So the reason why I chose this quote is because what I did with the book, The Journey to Cloud 9, is I took a spin on the personal development world. And yes, I did all the research and I read a ton about happiness and meaning and fulfillment and positive psychology. And I interviewed hundreds of people about how they find happiness and meaning and fulfillment. And instead of just sharing the stories that I was told and revealing the key patterns and moments in our lives where we feel like we're on Cloud 9, I wanted to start carving my own niche in the personal development world. So what I did was I turned the book into an allegory, where I created this story about a character named Jerry. You've read the first couple of chapters, and basically Jerry lives his life according to Ed Milet's version of hell, right? And he lives his life where he's making decisions based off of societal expectations, peer pressure, all external sources. And ultimately he gets to this point where the life that he's living is nowhere near the life that he could have been living. What I do also is I juxtapose that life with what I call his Cloud 9 life. It's Ed Milet's version of heaven, where in those moments, those key moments in his life where he chose based off of society, he's actually able to envision what his life could have looked like had he chosen more with his heart and his gut and his intuition. And you're able to see that that life is a lot more meaningful and fulfilling for him, even though it doesn't necessarily satisfy a lot of the quote unquote successes that we think of in our lives. So it's just so powerful for me every time I hear that quote.
So let's start from the beginning. What is Cloud 9?
That's we can talk the whole time about that, because the coolest thing about it, Jacob, is that I've asked people from Europe. I'm here in New York, right? I've asked people from Europe, Australia, Africa, all over the world. I've asked people close to your and my age, right? I've asked my 90-year-old grandma, right, what Cloud 9 means, and everybody has a different interpretation. Yet there are some very much underlying principles that I've found in which we always go to when we are living a Cloud 9 life. And that is truly a Cloud 9 life is one in which you are designing it for yourself as opposed to the expectations or desires of anybody else. It's when you're stringing together Cloud 9 moments, which are decisions in which you have chosen the more difficult path, in which you have chosen something that is totally aligned with your values. So that's what Cloud 9 is all about.
In the first chapters I read in your book, you confront these two, I don't want to call it realities, but let's call it realities for this purpose. Reality and play. Can you explain what is the main difference?
Sure. So reality for the book is understanding our current situation, right? And it's that confront the past part of the book's subtitle, Confront the Past, Redefine the Future. So when we're here sitting in reality, it's about reflection, and it's a self-awareness and a self-reflection on where it is that we stand in our lives. And for me, the key attribute with reality is about ownership. And it's being honest with ourselves and saying, hey, I'm overweight. Hey, I'm not financially stable. Hey, I don't have the relationship that I want. And that's what reality is able to show us, right? So it's just getting brutally honest with yourself. Play is one of the first Cloud 9 principles that I uncovered, because play is something that we need to have in our lives in order to feel like we are on Cloud 9. So what I discovered with play was that memories of this childlike freedom where we were just in the moment enjoying sports or enjoying hobbies or activities or playing with friends, right? These were these sort of uninterrupted moments of beauty that we tend to let go of as we get older and more serious in our lives, right? But the more we bring that back, the more we have hobbies, the more we have true passions, the more we do things that are just for the sake of having fun, the more closely our lives will be aligned with the Cloud 9 version of who we can become.
When do you think people start losing, quote unquote, their dreams and their playfulness? At which point in their lives?
So I would say that the obvious answer is when they start working, because it becomes a little bit consuming and you have the 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are these days of work. And then all you want to do when you get out of work is relax and not do anything too productive because you're working, and that's life, right? But I would say the more creative answer is not a specific time, but rather it's a specific mindset, right? And I think the moment we forget about play is when society tells us that we should stop playing. And that's when we're no longer a child, right? I think it's the same with imagination. Like play and imagination to me go hand in hand. We're told to imagine as little kids growing up, and that creates this sense of wonderment. It creates this sense of curiosity. But as we get older, it seems like those qualities become childlike, and childlike has a negative connotation. So when we get older, we don't want to feel childlike, so we give up on those things that made us feel childlike, which is play and imagination. So it's just that mindset of adhering to norms as opposed to focusing on ourselves and what we know makes us happy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how do you help people to actually remember what is that defining moment of what that playfulness? You use the airplane metaphor a lot in a book that Jerry was playing with a little toy and imagining that he's a pilot.
Right.
So let's say that you're working with your client. Is it a part of your whole coaching process that you help them to remember? So how do you do it?
Yeah. So the ingredient that's so essential for each part of the coaching process, right? Like play is one personal development bucket that we focus on. Each category is going to come with what I call imagitivitation. So
Is it a word you made up?
It is. It stands for imagination plus creativity plus interpretation plus implementation. Right? So like I said before, imagination is so important to me. So when we think about play, we need to imagine what play looks like in our lives, and we need to confront the past and understand what play used to look like in our lives. So we're imagining those experiences that we've had in our past where play was just so vital to the person that we were. And then what we're doing is we're imagining what those experiences would look like in our future if we were to reincorporate play. Right? So that's imagination. Then we have to get a little bit creative and say, how are we going to creatively implement this back into our lives? Right? So that's starting to work on all the pieces of, how can I, spend 30 minutes a day on play, right? How are we going to creatively shift our schedule so that we can do that? And then interpretation, right? Once I shift my schedule and get play involved, how's that going to make me feel? What's that going to do for me, right? We need to interpret our emotions as we consider incorporating this new activity. And then finally, implementation. Implementation comes with action, right? Action brings clarity. We can imagine and create and interpret all day long, but until we implement, we're not going to realize what it's actually like to feel new, to feel different, to feel the change of employing these strategies. So implementation is the part where you go ahead and you actually do it in your life. You reflect, you revise, tweak, assess, and ultimately create your own version of your Cloud9 life.
I wrote down here like finding 30 minutes to play during my day, right? Is it like true form of playing that I will just play with Lego, or is it more like bringing back that feeling when I was playing with something?
So I focus on the feeling, but the activity can be whatever, right? So I have a client who play for him is he's studying for the law school exam here in the States, and he needs moments of release, right? Play is about release. It's about escape at times. So what he does is he goes outside and he juggles a soccer ball for 15, 20, 30 minutes, right? That's play because it's something that's not associated with his daily pressures. So that it's really the feeling that you get from it. It could be absolutely anything. It just needs to be something that, if you are, for me, even though I love writing, right? I wouldn't have my playtime be writing because that's too closely aligned with what I do the rest of the day. Like for me, my play is cooking, or my play is literally like basketball or soccer or something like that.
How would you help me, for example? Because sometimes I just want to play guitar, which is over there, or I just want to play something on my computer for let's say an hour or half an hour, right?
Yeah.
But I feel that I'm that it's like form of procrastination, that I should be doing more important things rather than playing guitar or playing
Sure.
World of Warcraft on my laptop. So
Yeah.
what advice would you give me?
I would say that's a mindset, right? I think if you view it as procrastination, then it becomes procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
But if you view it as an intentional 30 minutes to almost refresh your brain, right? If you put it right in the middle, like what we would do is we would use, for me, it sounds like your problem is in the creativity part, right? There's no creative assignment of play during your day. So maybe what we would do is we would do some trial and error, whereas maybe it feels like if you do it in the middle of the day, you are giving up on another activity. But in reality, if you play guitar for 30 minutes, that actually re-energizes you for all
I
the
see.
activities you have to do for the rest of the day, right? And through imagitivitation, you'll have to see if that's how you feel after doing it for a day or two, right?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, what is the transformation that playing during the day will bring to my life? So you mentioned energy.
Yeah,
Is there anything?
energy.
What are other things that playing will help me with?
Yeah, so energy is definitely number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two for me is responsiveness as opposed to reactivity. And what I mean by that is having a sense of play allows us to take ourselves less seriously, right? So I think I'll be the first person to say that life is serious and there are serious things that do occur. But when we run into problems, it's when we get reactive to these serious situations and sort of panic, as opposed to if you have play in your life, you can respond way more appropriately to these situations because you can take a step back, not take yourself too seriously, and almost come from an unbiased perspective into the situation. So that's number two. And then number three for play. So we said number one is energy, number two is responsiveness, and number three, I would say, is what's the last one? Oh, just a genuine sense of positivity, right? I just, positive energy for me is everything. And play gives such a great reminder that there is fun in this world. And it's about appreciating each step as a bit of fun as opposed to a chore or a struggle or whatever it is.
I would like to point out, I think, what you said about responsiveness and about problems. I read quite an interesting book from Robin Sharma, and he said that like this situation.
Which one?
I actually don't know the name in English because I read it a couple of years ago in Czech, so I don't know the translation. But it was about that.
What was it about?
That situation exists, right? So some problem exists, and only you are the one who's choosing the reaction, right? It exists. It's not positive. It's not negative.
Right.
It's you who are choosing how to react, and it's all about the responsiveness.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. One thing I always say is, the statement that everything happens for a reason, right? So I don't necessarily believe that everything happens for a reason. I just believe that everything happens. And then we assign the reason why it happened based off of our values and the stories that we wish to tell.
It's similar like what Tony Robbins says, life is happening for you, not to you, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All these principles are, beautifully said.
Okay, from your experience, if you like find a person who needs a change or somebody seeks your help, what is the place or spot in their mind they should start immediately? If I want to change, if I want to bring some improvement into my life, what's the step number one?
Step number one would be like just how the book starts, right? It's about reality. It's about confronting the past with these hard truths, being open and honest with yourself and saying, these are my problem areas. And if you can't pinpoint those problem areas, then it's time to start asking, right? It's time to start using the people around us in order to get some feedback. So that's part of the process as well. It's if we really can't find for ourselves what's going on, then sure, with me as a coach, but more so with people who know you, parents, siblings, friends, coworkers, just really asking those deep questions and saying, getting a real 360 evaluation of where do I need to improve? What's wrong with me? And openly accepting that feedback.
Oh yeah, I think the accepting part is the most important.
Yeah.
If you look at yourself in the mirror and your physical body isn't really appealing, and you still keep saying to yourself it's okay, you're not in a good position to really change it, right?
Right.
All right. So who are the people who usually work with you? Who, at which stage in their life they seek your help?
Yeah, so I would say there's two main things here. And one is that it is people who are stuck, people who don't necessarily know what's next, people who don't know what their purpose is, people who are just going through the motions, much like I was, right? That's how I started my own journey to Cloud9. It's because I was going through the motions and I was not being intentional about the decisions that I was making. I was on the hamster wheel and I was not thinking about if it was a meaningful or fulfilling life at all, right? So that's what I would say. It's that kind of mindset. And then the other thing I would say is that it's people who are maybe transitioning into what's next. And throughout this transition, we need to be very aware of our personal development, making sure that the transition is not focused on an end result so much, but always focused on each component of our lives, where we can just be content with whatever situation is thrown at us.
What do you mean, like what's next in relationship or career change?
It could, yeah. It's like I said, and I don't niche down on purpose because I want to be able to work with anybody who sees that there's an issue in their lives. So it could be transitioning in relationships. It could be transitioning from corporate to entrepreneurship. It could be transitioning from working to retired. It could be, any of these types of transitions in our lives where we are just undergoing a change and we don't know what's in store for the future, but we want to figure out what is. So let's work on these principles to gain a sense of meaning and fulfillment and purpose, and ultimately discover like how we should be living our lives in working toward that fulfillment.
When did you decide that this is your purpose, helping people to really unlock their full potential? When was it, and how did you actually find out that that's the thing you want to do?
Yeah, so the harsh reality is that it's you have to be extremely patient throughout the process. I think when we want to go and find purpose or passion, right, we want to find it now. And especially in this day and age, we want that instant gratification of just setting out and doing something. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's right there in a day or a week or even a month. It's too short. So for me, it's been this journey to Cloud9 where I've tried many different things. I've explored my curiosities. I have imaginativitized my future, and in each scenario I've said, here's, I'd imagine what my life would look like. I've created how I can get there. I've interpreted what that's going to make me feel like and how it's going to make, my relationships feel like as well. And then I've implemented, and whenever I implement, I'm very aware of, is this the reality that I want? And I've gone through a lot of failures. I've tried the restaurant industry. I tried entrepreneurship. I tried the regular corporate route, and I understood not only what experiences I wasn't liking, but also the feelings attached to the experiences that I wasn't liking. So that's something that I was very aware of as well. So yeah, it's just this process where I wasn't proactively seeking happiness, or I wasn't proactively seeking the one thing. It was just trying different things, enjoying the experimentation of life, and then ultimately realizing what it was that I wanted to keep doing over and over and over again, which was just activities associated with adding value to other people, quite simply.
So you mentioned restaurants, entrepreneurship, corporate job.
Yeah.
Was this all trying on purpose, like that you were figuring out what is your meaning in life or purpose, what is your why, Or
Oh yeah.
was it at the stage that you still weren't like really aware of these things, and you were just going through life accepting all the opportunities which came your way?
Yeah, it's all on purpose. It's all on purpose, but there's like a very fine line between being purposeful and being too aggressively purposeful, right? So I was intentional in that these were things that were allowing me to explore whether or not they were going to be my purpose, but I wasn't aggressively intentional in saying I need this to be my purpose, right? There's always that acceptance that maybe this might not be the right route, but if I can learn from each of these different experiences, then it was the right route for that time because I learned from it.
Do you know that bad exercise from Seven Habits of Highly Efficient People?
No, I actually never read that.
That actually helped me quite a lot with my purpose and with my why. It's basically that you are writing a speech for people who are at your funeral, and
The eulogy.
what they're saying about you and so on.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting that usually for most of people it all boils down that they are helping other people in some way, right?
Yeah.
It's not about that I have this, I have that. It's all about the change you brought to other people's lives.
That's right. And that's part of the Cloud9 process. I call it benevolence, but it's very simply, how are you adding value to your community and the people around you? Because that always has to do with a sense of fulfillment. Always.
Can you tell me about the most impressive success story of one of your students? Like, what is the transformation you actually brought to somebody?
Yeah, one of my clients, we ended up choosing. So there's 9 principles in the Cloud9 that we really want to focus on, and we ended up choosing career aspirations, truly finding a sense of meaningful work as the one that we were going to work on. So here was a guy who came in just down in the dumps about not having the financial stability for his family, not having any of this good stuff. And then without, oversaturating the detail, fast forward to literally yesterday, he's got 3 different job offers about, with the money that he wants, with the positions that he wants. And he's in the driver's seat or the pilot's chair as to choosing just, which one is best for him. So the way that happened was by focusing on, honestly, like a lot of skills and characteristics not even associated with the job search. By focusing on play, by focusing on relationships, by focusing on communication, he was able to just get more confident, which ultimately led to his confidence increasing in his job search. So that's just a nice example of the coaching really turns into, all right, what's going to be the big goal? Maybe it's career, maybe it's, relationship, maybe it's play, maybe it's you need to find some sort of community service or outside hobby, right? That's the end goal, like the thing that we're trying to achieve. But for me, the success is, who does the person become in getting there? And this is a person who he clearly gained a tremendous amount of confidence, which helps him with his end goal, even though my end goal is for just the person to enjoy every single moment.
That's so interesting that you are not niching it down, that you have like these multiple examples that you can help people on in so many different things. Why is that? Because most of the coaches I see on LinkedIn, I see on the internet, they have it all like narrowed down, like really laser focused. This is what I do for one client, one offer. This is what I sell. Why the different approach?
So for me, I like to be different, and that's my thing, right? Like, everybody's writing personal development in either scientific ways or statistical ways or sharing interviews ways. And I came and I said, well, how can I separate myself? And that's by doing personal development through fiction and allegory, right? So there's always something in the back of my mind that's like, what makes me stand out? So if everybody's telling me, hey, go do the most niche coaching you can possibly do. Like, sure, I have a business background. I went to a good school and a good business school, and I understand the business model there, but I'm going to do something else. I'm going to try something else because it's more fun for me to experiment with, hey, let me try everything and help as many people as possible, as opposed to creating like a sustainable business model. If you're listening to this and you really want like an entrepreneur's advice who is trying to get you really revenue focused and, really zero in on like the bottom line of your business, I wouldn't say that I'm the one for you. I would say that it's more about like the overall life experience, because for me, I want to help every single kind of person, which is what forces me and drives me to not niche down.
I see.
It's really about the helping. It's not about like the business model at all.
Do you have a mission statement or something like just one sentence, two sentences you could share with us?
Yeah. So I trailblaze new ways of personal development by using fiction and imagitivitation to allow people to confront their past and redefine their future.
Love it. Jordan, tell me about your time in Czech Republic. You mentioned that you were here for 4 months.
Yeah.
What you do here?
Yeah. So this is actually a great story, because before I got to Prague, I was, there were always little signs that I was going to go entrepreneurial and do something different. Like, first sign when I was 7 years old, I made a lemonade stand for September 11th victims' families, right? And everything that I did had a little component of social impact and giving back and volunteerism. When I was in college, I created an Alzheimer's awareness group because my grandfather passed away from Alzheimer's. I did a certificate in civic engagement where every single week, every Friday, I did hours of community service. So I was always doing something a little bit different than my peers. But actually, when I went to Prague, it was 4 months of straight partying, 100%. Not gonna lie,
That's a great place to party. I gotta be honest.
I was not a functioning member of society, Jacob. Like, not at all. I lost sight of that. I was always doing things to help others. I wasn't doing anything to help anybody. I was just hanging out with my friends and partying, and class wasn't difficult. So that was life for 4 months. When I got back, and that's when I knew I was doing that, right? So it's about this. I still had a sense of self-awareness, which was great. So I promised myself that when I got back to the States, I was going to, become a functioning member of society again. And I started listening to personal development. I started reading self-help books, and I got back into creating things for others. And that's really when my whole journey began. So Prague was like the stepping stone, honestly, where it was like my last hurrah as this sort of immature child, focused on myself, to, okay, when this is over, I'm really going to start my journey to what I think is going to be my ultimate goal.
But it's so interesting that in the process of partying, you were still aware that you were partying and that you're not actually helping anybody, right?
Right. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. And I even before I went to Prague, I said, I'm not going to get anything done here. I'm not going to, I'm not going to create anything when I'm here. I'm just going to focus on, like, basically everything I do has an intention, right? Just like with play, like we were talking about in the beginning. Prague was my intentional 4 months of play. And as much as I loved and enjoyed it and appreciated it for what it was, I wouldn't want to do 4 months of that ever again, because I know that that's not my purpose. My purpose is to continue to build and grow things for other people.
So in Prague, the transition happened, basically.
Yeah. But more specifically, when I was there, I was, traveling to different cities all the time. I was exploring Prague. I was taking classes about the EU, learning about Czech history, Czech culture, just, walking around a lot. It was a great experience.
What did you like the most about Prague?
What did I like the most?
Yeah.
My favorite part about Prague, and maybe this was because of my intention coming in, my favorite part about Prague was that it felt like a fantasy world. right? Because I had these 4 months of nothingness. I had these 4 months of, this is what I'm doing, just living here and enjoying the moment. I don't have any outside expectations. I don't have any pressure. This is my life. It's just walking around, and even the aesthetics of Prague make it seem like a Disney World kind of. So that added to it, in that I was just constantly in awe of my environment and the life that I was living. There was like this appreciation, like, I am so fortunate and grateful to be in this foreign city, enjoying every single moment without any pressure, without any real responsibility. So I love that about Prague. The other little thing is that it was very central in Europe, so we got to travel pretty easily to a lot of different locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to your book, The Journey to Cloud
Yeah.
Nine. You talked there about Martin, who is from Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Is it a real person, or was it just an inspiration?
So Martin is very much, all the characters are very much reflections of real people and the types of people who we need in our lives. So throughout the book, Jerry has this guy, CP, who is his co-pilot on his journey through the clouds. And we all need a co-pilot. We all need a mentor. We all need a guide who's going to do their best to lead us in the right direction. It's just always up to us to make that final decision and steer the plane in the way that we want to go. What Martin served as in the book is Jerry's real life guide, in which he was supporting Jerry whenever he had to support Jerry. And then when Jerry needed Martin, he would be there to do what he had to do to sort of redefine Jerry's future. So I don't want to give anything away too much, but Martin is Jerry's guide. Martin is the support system. It's a sense of not being in this alone, understanding that there are other people in our lives who really care for us. That's what Martin served as in the book.
So is the book already out?
The book, so today is January 16th. So the book is out secretly.
Secretly.
It's out as an ebook right now, because the goal is to just get some reviews and a little bit of momentum and feedback. And then the official launch is February 10th. That's when the paperback will be out. Hopefully some sort of audio will be out. And obviously the ebook will be out as well. So right now I'm just doing the ebook secretly and giving out free chapters of the book for those who desire.
You actually sent me the video. The video is 5.5 hours long.
Yeah,
which is reading the book and discussing with your mentor, right?
That's right. Yeah, we wanted to, again, always trying to think of little ways to be somewhat different, right? So in between each chapter, we pause and we have a discussion about what I had just written, because it is fiction. So even though I want you to get some of the takeaways yourself, I wanted to be your guide and sort of say, here's what I meant when I said this, here's this analogy, here's what this character stands for, and things like that. So it's like a podcast audio video book. If you've ever read, have you ever heard of David Goggins?
No, I haven't. David
Goggins is basically one of the most decorated fitness celebrities in the United States. He was in the Navy, in the Army, in the Navy SEALs, and he's got the World Pull-Up Championship record. But he wrote a book called Can't Hurt Me. And with his ghostwriter, they read the book, and then in between each chapter, they share more stories and just have a simple discussion about what was being told throughout the book. So that was where the idea got inspired from.
All right, Jordan, thanks a lot for sharing all of this knowledge. It was really, really insightful. So everybody who is watching, listening, The Journey to Cloud9 is going out on February 10th. Or if you want some free chapters, Jordan, where's the best place to reach out to you?
Yeah, so it's journeytocloud9.com. That's all spelled out, journey, T-O, cloudnane.com. And then on that page, it says download free chapters. You can just go right there. But if you want to reach out to me personally, like I said, on LinkedIn, Jordan Gross, and you'll get me every time. I will respond at some point for sure. I love chatting.
Amazing. Jordan, thanks a lot for coming to Real Talks with Jakub. And guys, if we brought you some value, please just take a screenshot of the app you're listening to this podcast on, or maybe you're watching it on YouTube. Share it with your friends. Don't be selfish, so your friends can learn from Jordan's wisdom as well. So thanks.
Jakub, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.